Spanish on our left, the Vichy French on our right, and quite probably some Italians lurking about beneath us. Well, I don't know that worrying will change anything. Almost certainly not, but it doesn't hurt to know where the exits are. Sunday, 1st of June, 1941. The carrier steamed due east through the early morning light. Bryan and Ben leaned on the rail, allowing the fresh sea breeze to blow away the memory of the dank humidity below decks. Away on the port side and slightly ahead, their escorting destroyer ploughed a parallel path. "I didn't see you at breakfast." Ben flicked his cigarette butt over the side, and it curved away with the wind. "I couldn't see the point in breakfast. It never tastes as good on the way up." Ben smiled. "This breakfast didn't really taste that good on the way down. Where have you been posted from?" "I was on night fighters over the winter, Spitfires before that. I spent the summer at Kenley." "You were in combat? What's your score?" Bryan shrugged. "I don't know. I don't worry about the score. I'm just glad I'm still at the crease." He lit a cigarette behind cupped hands. "Where were you?" "I've been on Hurricanes out of Manston. I arrived there in December, so not much doing. I've flown a few sweeps over France, but I don't think I ever fired at anything worthwhile, and I'm fairly certain nothing worthwhile has ever fired back at me." "Christ, look at that!" Bryan pointed at the escorting warship. The vessel's huge grey bulk leaned over in the water as it flared into a violent turn away from them, churning white foam away from its stern as its propellers strained against its inertia. "What's he doing?" Ben's voice tightened with tension. "I don't know, but it certainly doesn't look like good news," Bryan answered. The gangway dipped away under their feet as the aircraft carrier lurched into an opposite turn. Bracing his arms against the rail, Bryan kept his eyes locked on the destroyer. As it completed its about-face, several small objects ejected in pairs from its stern arced a short parabola through the air and splashed into the sea. "Shit," Bryan hissed. "They're depth-charging something." Moments later, the surface bulged and split, spouting colossal founts of water skywards. Dull reverberations clanged through the carrier's hull, ringing the passage of vicious shockwaves as each fountain collapsed back into itself. The Argus completed its 90-degree turn and swung upright on its new southerly bearing. Something in the water to one side of the quelling disturbance snagged Bryan's vision. Two bubbling trails scored straight lines that reached out like ethereal fingers towards the carrier, rapidly gaining on the fleeing ship. "Bloody hell!" Bryan blurted. "Torpedoes!" Both men leaned further over the rail, straining to follow the missile's progress. The tracks vanished into the foaming wake, reappeared and skimmed alongside, overtaking the Argus on a slim but widening diagonal. Horns blared as the second escort destroyer churned past them in the opposite direction, hurrying to add its ordnance to the counterattack. "That was close." Ben's voice stretched with stress. "What happens now?" Bryan squinted against the reflections dancing on the brightening water. "I suppose we can hope that Italian submarines don't hunt in pairs." The gangway tilted again as the carrier started a wide curve back to port and accelerated onto an easterly course. Behind them, and now receding in the distance, the two destroyers crisscrossed the same patch of sea, trailing tumultuous violence through its depths. "I hope this doesn't spook the captain," Bryan muttered. "What do you mean?" The other man's face was drained pale. "Rumour has it, last year they flew a dozen Hurricanes off this same tub. The ship wasn't anywhere near close enough, and only 4 made it into land." "You're joking." Ben looked at him aghast. Bryan scanned the sea with lingering suspicion. "I can think of funnier things to joke about." As the shadows lengthened into sunset, the destroyers steamed back into their flanking positions. The two pilots remained on deck. Unwilling to descend into their cabin's steel embrace during the heat of the day, they now lingered to enjoy the cool evening air.